20 years. There's just no weaker package. It's nothing to write home about, but there was no drastic change within Butch to justify this. Then he goes on a tear about Butch Hartman's declining sense of skill and how him pandering to kids created this monstrosity. Which, again, nothing's changed. Also, isn't the whole running narrative with modern Butch is that he's a raging egotist that lacks self-awareness? Yeah! Them kids weren't the endgame. He didn't care enough about him to pander directly to him. Pretty much all his cartoon pitches are gaggedy ideas that allow him to make quick and dirty puns and quips. In a way, they're eye-roll worthy, but they can be a bit more variable than stuff he made for TV. This attempt at a historical narrative popped up a few times in Nick-O-Rama, using certain shows as milestones to talk about where Nick was as a company. That was a major part of the Monsters vs. Aliens review, coming from a guy who couldn't even be bothered to watch the movie for greater context, let alone more than a couple episodes of the show. A lot of his historical analysis was hyper-emotional drivel based on heavy speculation and a string of loose observations. Related to that, he tried to discuss Nick's horrible proclivity to use standout creators in his network to make new shows. Spooky. He acts as if utilizing the same talent or creative brain trust gets you nowhere, when in reality, it's a network of selection like this that leads to some of the most beloved and respected cartoons of the past decade. Even if we're speaking from the perspective of just using one creator, I don't know how well that still holds up.
She said she was 12!
If anything, cartoon creators do move on to bigger and better things each time they make something. People like Gendy, Craig, Dan, Swampy, they all managed to innovate each time they got a new green light. If we're speaking about the very specific and unusual terms of the same creator staying with the same network to make the same shows, then we also gotta take into account why Nick themselves kept them on board. Creators have immense power, but at the end of the day, it's the executives that have the final say. They pick these people because they trust that their creative visions generally line up well with the networks. More likely than not, they did influence the humor and the story and these other elements to be more streamlined. Enter insists that in past Nick-O-Ramas there was a curse, a spooky curse, among Nickelodeon creators that pertains to them losing their mojo as time goes on. As if to say that if one person makes more than a couple shows with varying premises and ways of executing, that's just automatically cursed. Character development. Curse, man.